listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Welcome into the GM Shuffle. We are presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. I'm Geoff Schwartz, 8 years National Football League, alongside Marty Hurney, 30 years in the NFL front office. And Marty, an incredible show coming up today, right? Like, we have stories upon stories upon stories. The National Football League is the league year has begun. Players have signed. Players have been traded. And some players, Marty, are not traded. Maxx Crosby was set to be traded from the Raiders to the Baltimore Ravens for 2 first-round picks. It was announced, I believe, yesterday or the day before that the Ravens had pulled out of the trade. And they pulled out of the trade because they are worrisome about his knee long-term. And they pulled out. Crosby goes back to the Raiders. And then the Ravens signed Trey Hendrickson to a big contract to be their future pass rusher. They wanted to pair him with Maxx Crosby, is what they said, and it did not happen. Now, before we get into sort of the back and forth here, I'll make something pretty clear about sort of what happened here procedurally, okay? And you'll follow up on this, I know, as well, Marty. I've been a part of many physicals myself. I've been on the side of even sort of maybe wanting to fail a physical, okay? You can fail a physical. It's very easy to fail a physical. They are subjective, right? Everyone who looks at an image of your body part, whether it's an MRI, so like a full sort of body 3D image, an X-ray, a CT scan, whatever imaging you want to use, whatever blood work you want to have, it can be interpreted any way that doctor wants to interpret it, right? And some people think that one injury can be healed and be fine, and one team doesn't. Very famously, Drew Brees, right, was one of those players who was going to go to the Dolphins, and they decided the shoulder wasn't worth it. He went to the Saints, and obviously the Miami Dolphins were wrong. So no one faked a fail physical. Nobody made it up. The Ravens decided his knee was not good enough for them to trade those assets for. Now, we can debate that, and we will in a second, about the merits of the way it went down, Marty. But just from that standpoint, the Ravens did nothing wrong here.
They did not. And I think the Baltimore Ravens are one of the classiest, best-run organizations in the league. And I always call it the house that Ozzie built, because Ozzie Newsome's been there forever. He's one of the smartest football people I've ever been around. One of the classiest guys. Eric DeCosta has worked side by side and does a terrific job as general manager. Steve Bisciotti is owner. So, listen, this is a class organization we're talking about. And it really is. You look at listen, there's no perfect free agency system. Any rules that the league makes, the league does the best job it can to set a format up for a difficult period where 32 competitive teams vying for the best players. So how are you going to set it up? But the hole in this is, and it might not be fixable, and it's not fair to say it's a hole, but you come to an agreement with the team on trade value, and you talk to the agent, I would assume, on contract, and that's something we'll talk about down a little bit later here, whether that came into play or not. But you really don't know until it's said contingent on a physical for a reason. Until you bring him in, until your doctors get to look at the knee, feel the range of motion, look at the MRIs, you don't know. And so what happens is he comes in, the doctors look at him, and Geoff, I don't think anybody really understands how it works and what a difficult decision Eric DeCosta had to make in this situation, unless you've really been a general manager and been in there. Because, listen, all Eric DeCosta cares about is getting the team better. And they made that decision. They brought him in, and they obviously found stuff that worried him. You know, the surgery was trimming back cartilage. Well, that always worries you, because when you're talking about meniscus and cartilage, you're talking about the buffer between the bones and the knees, right? And it's always bone on bone. Well, doctors, and again, you're dealing with the NFL, so everybody's got an opinion. Everybody has an opinion of what you should do. But the doctors look at them and say, boy, this is a risk. You don't get a yes or no. You just get, listen, can we fail on the physical? Yeah, we're really worried about this thing, about the bone on bone and how long it can go. And as a general manager, when you know information and you don't listen to that information and go ahead and stick and stay with the move and make a move that's contrary to what you're hearing, that is pretty much always a mistake. And I think the Ravens did a very good job of pivoting back to to Trey Hendrickson. I give Eric DeCosta and the Ravens. I mean, I don't see anything they did wrong. They're getting a lot of criticism, but this happens, Jeff. I mean, I remember 15, 20 years ago, we had brought a lineman in, free agent lineman, and basically had the contract agreed to, came in, it was contingent on him happy with the coaching staff. He does that, he comes back, I show him the contract, he gets a phone call, leaves the room, comes back and says, "Listen, I'm just not comfortable here." I was so upset, I ripped the contract up in front of him, something I'm not very proud of. Well, many things I'm not very proud of, but, it happens more than you know, and a lot of stuff doesn't get out. And that's why I always said when you had an agreement, and Rob Rogers, who went to Harvard, one of the smartest guys, probably the smartest guy I've known, and he would do the contract and would get the agreement, and I would say, "Get him in immediately and get it signed," because until that thing is done, until the physicals pass, the contract is signed, it's not done, and it's just too fluid a situation. So, I do not have an issue with how the Ravens handle this. Now, I do have a concern about, the quarterback's contract, Lamar Jackson's
Yeah,
contracts, and we'll talk about that a little later. But
yeah.
on this issue, Jeff, I think they did everything they could do.
All right. So I mentioned that what the Ravens did was not wrong, which it wasn't, right? These are the mechanisms that are in place. However, Marty, it is convenient that they announced that they're not doing this trade and then signed the best available free agent on the market at that position. So they get the pass rusher they want and keep their 2 first-round picks. And it does lead to some questions about, do they get cold feet? That's what people believe. I'm not saying I don't know the Ravens. I can't tell you whether or not they believe
Right.
that, but or they actually felt that way. But it does set up in a way where it does seem like they they decided it's not worth the Crosby deal because the knee is whatever we think it is. Let's just sign Trey Hendrickson, keep our draft picks. Like, if I were to tell you, you have these two options, right? You could trade for Maxx Crosby and give up those 2 first-round picks, or sign Trey Hendrickson and keep the 2 first round. I would take the Trey Hendrickson one in a heartbeat, right? You get to keep your 2 valuable first-round picks, and you get a pass rusher who's still, and he's coming off injury as well, but still very productive at his age. And so I can see how that looks across the NFL, because it doesn't happen very often, right? Now, you mentioned one situation, but trades do not get reneged very often. But also, everyone had moved on in the NFL, right, Marty? The Raiders went and signed like $1 billion worth of I like what they did in free agency. And then the Cowboys traded for a pass rusher. And this team did that, and that team did this, and everyone sort of went on with their collective lives in the NFL. And now all of a sudden the Raiders are welcoming back Maxx Crosby, who I know said on social media, "Hey man, all good, let's work." But the fury inside of him, man, like, I might put a wager on him to be defensive player of the year. Like, the anger he's going to have this season. Think about it. He's going from the Raiders, who they are what they are, right? So, like the
Right.
Baltimore Ravens, right? 2 times Super Bowl champions in this century. Like, he's going to a place where you have Super Bowl aspirations. Now he's going back to the Raiders, who, I liked what they did. Trust me, their free agency I really liked, but they're not close to winning anything, right? So, he's probably gonna get a new deal with both. So the anger he has in this situation, I'd imagine, is very immense. So, look, the Ravens are allowed to do this. I do think a little bit of cold feet might have come into place here. I'm not questioning whether or not they intentionally failed as physical. I do think that you can interpret it, like you mentioned, right? When you don't have that cartilage between your bones, that's a long-term issue, right? But another team might view Maxx Crosby, the Bears, I should put him out there, as this is worth doing this contract, right? Or doing this deal. So I think part of that is in play here. And that's why people are so angry with the Ravens.
Yeah, and I get it, Jeff. And you can go to the physical, you can go to the contract. That the agents say he needed a new contract, and the Ravens didn't want to do it. There's a lot of reasons you can point to, but it really is. It's so hard, Jeff, to when you bring a player in, and when you say fail physical or pass physical, it's so hard to say, okay, can this player? I mean, certainly he would pass a physical for life, but can that knee hold up with what it's been through if it's close to being bone on bone? We had a safety at the Panthers, a very good safety that had an MRI done, and he had a chondral
Good.
defect, which is basically the bone on bone stuff, and it was more than a quarter size, and he ended up playing 5, 6, 7 more years. You just don't know, but the the fact of the matter is that when the Ravens made this trade, I think they honestly thought the knee was in better shape than their doctors told him. And then you go to Dallas, who reportedly was in it early. Dr. Cooper was sent the MRIs,
Yeah.
and he has apparently nixed it. So there definitely is a medical issue. Listen, Jeff, let me ask you this: if there isn't a medical issue, why did
Yeah.
the Raiders put him on IR for what, the last 2 games? You're
Well,
trading Maxx
had a meniscus
Crosby. I
he
didn't
had a
understand
meniscus
it.
tear. I mean, he had a meniscus tear, as we know, right? I mean, that part
Right.
happened, and so this is separate of that, right? Like, that's on track to heal, but the question is whether or not the knee long-term structurally can live up to what. But here's the thing, so would Jerry Jones do this contract, do this deal if his doctor said that his knee was messed? I think Jerry would still do it. Even though the Cowboys team doctors
Probably.
said no.
Probably if he already had the deal
Yeah,
done and the guy in a
yeah,
building,
yeah,
yes. But I think the Ravens are a very disciplined organization, and it's just, it doesn't hold up. When you say it's a meniscus,
yeah,
but that's basically the cushion between the bones. Our
correct.
doctors used to call it peel and paint. And every time I heard peel and paint, I wanted to go under my desk because I knew we were in trouble, right? So it's a very scary injury as far
Yeah,
as determining how long a guy can play. And you're right. I mean, but they probably had talks with Hendrickson's agent before they made the trade and
yeah.
said, listen, we got some balls in the air and see how things work out, so that we're able to get it done fairly quickly. But I just think that it's something that you have to do what's best for your organization.
Yeah.
And I think the Ravens did everything right. I do think we need to look at, is there a better way to expedite the physicals on trades and stuff like that? But it's a hard thing to do.
We don't have much time here, but how was your relationship with the doctors you guys employed? Did it always sort of mesh with you?
Yeah. I mean, again, they're never going to give you. People think that failing in passing is a black and white issue. It's not, right?
Yeah.
It's you're trying to figure out if the guy can play this sport for a long time. We can talk later about this in the next segment. It's a good question.
So we'll continue that discussion, and we'll talk Lamar Jackson, quarterbacks. A bunch of quarterback news the last couple of days. We'll do that next. Geo Show presented by DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Welcome back to the GM Shuffle. We'll get to Lamar Jackson's reported contract extension and sort of reworking in a second here. But sticking on the doctor topic, Marty, players have a natural distrust of all the team doctors because we believe that the team doctors are working for the team, which they are, by the way. You're getting paid by the team,
Right.
and that they're looking out for the team maybe over the players. So does this situation further that? I mean, I'd imagine that most players still, if they didn't trust doctors, they don't trust them even more now. I trusted the doctors to give me the best medical care I needed, but it's interesting, man. Like, I was on a team, and like you get sort of the team doctor who's typically like the ortho guy. He has a different timeline for rehab than your other doctor does for an injury who did your surgery. And those two competing things, man, it's very frustrating as a player to hear one thing from one person and then another thing from the team doctor, and then trying to merge those together and get a rehab plan that's correct and get an operation plan for practice that works out well. And players just inherently don't trust team doctors.
Yeah, and I can understand that, but and really the liaison between of the medical staff between the front office is the trainer, and the trainer
Yes.
needs to do everything he can to really instill confidence about the doctors into the players. Now, it goes both ways. I mean, we always used to joke. Ryan Vermillion, one of the best trainer I was ever with. We used to joke at Carolina every time a player would go in and have surgery, and he'd text successful surgery, and I would text back, yeah, have you ever seen a doctor come out of the surgery room and say, boy, I messed that one up? I mean, you don't know, right? Until the rehab. The rehab is the
Yeah.
most important part of it. You have to trust your doctors. I loved our team doctors. Pat Connor was our orthopedic.
Yeah.
Rob
Orthopedic
Heyer
doctor,
was
yeah.
the general. I mean, Rob Heyer's
Insurance,
just cyber. He's incredible. I brought my mom that lived up in DC. They couldn't find what was wrong with her for 2 years. Brought them down to Charlotte, and Dr. Hire found out she needed a pacemaker in 3 days,
Oh,
and
wow.
that's the kind of medical treatment that we
Yeah.
had there. But you're right, it's so hard for players, Jeff, because it always comes down to the business side, right? I mean, the medical part of it is really determines what kind of money, how much money the guy's going to get. So I totally understand that, and it's just it's an area that doesn't have a lot of obvious answers or answers that, "Hey, this is it, 100%, this is it." It's never 100%. It's at best 70-30 and
Yeah.
most of the time probably 50-50. So, it's just so hard. That's why, I've always loved going through the draft, re-signing your own players. You know what you have there. Free agency, I mean, I would have a knot in my stomach the whole week because you'd always say you wanna sit back and wait and let the first 2 days go on the big contracts, but it's hard to do that, especially if you have a chance to get a player that will help your football team. So it's really there's so many people just think that you go in and the doctors say pass or fail. That does not happen, and because it's just so hard, Jeff.
Yeah.
You can't predict it, can you?
No, you can't. So you mentioned no doctor comes out and says, "Hey, this didn't go very well." But I will tell you, my last surgery in the NFL, I broke my ankle twice, and this is the last time I broke it. I had surgery. I supposed in the morning. I was supposed to get out of there in the afternoon, and I'm in the recovery room in the PACU, and I start like itching a lot, Marty. Like I look down and my arms are like red and they're sort of itching a little bit. And so I asked the nurse, I'm like, I'm kind of like really itchy. And then my face started to swell up and my tongue started to swell up, like everything started swelling a lot. And
Yeah.
I realized I wasn't going very well. So I was like, hey, like, excuse me. And so I was having an allergic reaction to something. I don't know what it was, but they started me on the epinephrine, and they had a pen ready to go. But the anesthesiologist comes out of the surgery he's in to see me, to see what's going on. And he says, I think this is like, sort of verbatim. He's like, if Jeff dies, the Giants are gonna kill me. Like, so it was something like something like that. It was like, not verbatim, I should say, like, if he dies, I'm screwed. So he said, yelled at the nurses. They were waiting for like an order to come in to make sure that they give the orders stuff sometimes to show up, and they're like, just give it to him. He's like, just give it to him. If he dies, it's my ass. So so not every time does it go perfectly.
Just
Dude, I
what
was
you
like,
wanna hear when you're
I know, I know. It was like Hitch, like
Awesome.
you know the movie Hitch where Will Smith like swells up. They
Yeah,
never figured out
yeah.
what they never figured out what it was. One of the doctors told me it might have been an allergic reaction to Toradol, and I was like, "Buddy, that was my first time taking Toradol." So it's not Toradol, I promise you that. But it was
Brian
uh,
Vermillion would always say, Jeff, that there's
uh,
no such thing as minor surgery. He said every time you're going under it is
well,
it's a major deal.
I
It's a
mean I
big
mean,
deal. There's no
um,
such thing.
no, and this was actually a major surgery. I was supposed to go home, but I mean, they were moving a plate out of my ankle and then taking a tendon. I did actually have a in between those 2 surgeries, a minor surgery. It was supposed to be 20 minutes long, taking screws out, and it took 2 hours. So, yeah, you're right. There's never a minor surgery. But yeah, so not it doesn't always go perfect every single time. What's not perfect for you, Marty, is this report that Lamar Jackson is getting a contract redone with the Ravens. Talk about what you're hearing here.
Yeah, I just and again, I've said earlier, I respect the guys at the Ravens so much, but looking forward, it's a little worrisome to me. Okay, so obviously we're talking about things that are reported, right? We haven't seen anything official yet, but it was reported this week that the Ravens are reportedly clearing approximately $40 million in cap room with Lamar Jackson by taking his base salary this year, turning it into signing bonus, adding 2 voided years, right? So the signing bonus prorates over 3 or 4 years, how many ever voided years you wanna put in. But the last real remaining year of the contract still is 2027. So by coming in and redoing and pushing the money back instead of doing a real extension, which maybe they have tried and can't come to, but I think from what my numbers tell me is that Lamar Jackson now would if this report is accurate, Lamar Jackson goes into the last year of his contract in 2027 with a cap number of about 85 million. Well, you can't push any more room back without doing a legitimate deal. So, really, the Ravens in probably the most important contract they have on the team will try to get him extended. But what leverage do they have? He's got a no trade clause. He's got a no franchise clause. He's got a no transition clause. So if you're sitting there and you're stuck with an $85 million cap number and have to extend them to get that lower, you only have two options. It's either get a deal done at any cost or make room elsewhere to carry his 85 million for last year. But listen, I'm sure they'll figure it out, but it's a little concerning to me that the most important player on your team, arguably, is going into the last year of his contract with an $85 million cap.
So what would you do if you were them? How would you handle this? Would you just not give him an extension? Would you give him a different would you void it out, like add more void years? Like what's the best way to handle this?
Well, Jeff, it's more than, obviously there's no more when you come to Lamar, and he's the easiest way. Listen, the guys with the biggest paragraph fives are the easiest guys to clear a room with, right? So you come in and you do that. Really, how would you handle it? The answer is that when you're planning your free agency dollars, you got to try to stay away from the credit card mentality. And listen, I was one of the worst, if not the worst in the league when I started as general manager and doing that, going for it, clearing room, pushing money back. But then it eventually leads to problems. And this might be one of them. We'll have to wait and see. But I think it's with how you with other players. Maybe you just don't sign a free agent, or you don't sign as many players. You deal with the cap room you have first, and really try to get the Lamar situation settled first. But listen, teams do it all the time. Again, it can be. I'm speaking from personal mistakes. It can really get you into trouble just by clearing room, trying to get the best team, best roster you can. But you don't win a Super Bowl in free agency. So I just think that it's going to be very interesting to me how those talks and how that goes over the next year or so.
We saw another quarterback get a contract extension, in essence, Daniel Jones of the Colts. Remember, they put the transition tag on him, Marty. They've now given him what amounts to a 1 or 2 year deal, depending on how you interpret it. So the $37 million they were giving the transition tag now turns into $50 million guaranteed, up to $60 million for injury, and $88 million total over the 2 seasons. Now that would be the transition tag plus the franchise tag for the next 2 years. And this season alone, they will, I think it's $5 million cap it. So it's basically to spread out the money. The next year, obviously, you're going to have a big cap number for Jones. So the way I read this to me, Marty, is you could have had Jones for 1 year and $37 million. You could have him for now 1 year, $60 million, up to $60 million, right? If he doesn't play this season, why would you keep him for next year? I just continue to not believe the Colts have a great plan for quarterback, Marty. This to me is not a great plan at quarterback. We hope Daniel Jones is fine off a major injury, and we're basically playing him for next season. I just don't like the plan, Marty. I just would have played him for the 1 season, and if he plays well, then you're happy and you pay him more money next year. I don't love this plan for the Colts here.
And I understand that, but I also understand what the Colts did, and and it had ripple effects. I mean, they out Pierce, the receiver that re-signed there, said that he wanted Daniel Jones there, and that might have helped putting the transition tag on him to get him extended. And now you put the transition tag on, and I think that Daniel Jones coming out, high first round pick, doesn't work out at the Giants. He just wants to be loved, right, Jeff? Doesn't he just want to be loved? So by putting a transition tag on him, says that to him. You come in, you get a 2-year deal. The Colts obviously believe in him. They think he's their guy. They wouldn't have traded the first round picks to the Jets for Sauce Gardner if they did not. So I like it because I think the Jets they do have a plan, and they're sticking to it and moving forward, and they believe in Daniel Jones. So I really like how they did it. I thought it was a very shrewd move.
A lot of money for Alec Pierce and Daniel Jones. That's a lot of money spent on their 2 guys. Obviously, re-signing your own guys, I think, is preferred to free agency. There were talks about whether they could do the tag and pay Alec Pierce. Well, they gave Jones a deal that allows them to keep Alec Pierce. Let's talk more quarterbacks next. Malik Willis has found a home. Kyler Murray might find a home. Geno Smith has found a home. We'll talk about it next year. Jim Show, presented by Dolphins Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Welcome back here on the GM Shuffle. More quarterback discussion here, Marty. Malik Willis signed a 3-year deal for $67 million with the Miami Dolphins. All intents and purposes, this could be a 1-year deal for $45 million. It doesn't work out. As we know, these contracts are not always the reported number. It is $22 million. Signing bonus, base salary is low this year. Then $21 million is guaranteed, I believe, in 21, even though, again, they don't have to keep him on the roster if they don't want. Here's my deal with Malik Willis, Marty. For him to be good in the NFL would be a complete outlier in the modern history of the NFL, right? So you have a player who's a third-round pick. If you look around the NFL right now, we talk about this a lot. A majority of the best quarterbacks in the NFL are first-round picks. There are a handful of others that are not. Jalen Hurts, for example, is one of them. Dak Prescott's a fourth-round pick, but Dak Prescott, remember, played and started immediately. That's going to be important to note here. Brock Purdy, 7th-round pick, played and started immediately, right? Malik Willis has started 6 games in his career and thrown, I think, 150 passes-ish, and he's entering his 5th season. So his 5th season, not started, third team, third-round pick, Marty. Unprecedented for him to be good in the NFL. He might be the outlier. He might be the guy. It's a no-risk contract, essentially. It's not an expensive contract for the Dolphins, other than having to obviously pay Tua on the side here. I just don't believe he's going to be good in the NFL with Miami. The scale from 150 passes to 400, 450. Look, he played well in the limited experience he got with Green Bay, and I've credited Green Bay before this in the past, and we talked about this on the show, Marty. They did a great job of game planning for him, right? They put in stuff for him. Well, it's a little bit different now when teams prepare for that stuff, right? And then you have to make the adjustment, 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later. So I just don't think it's going to work. Again, in a year, you come back here and tell me I'm an idiot, don't know what I'm talking about. It would be the extreme outlier. The guys that people point to as being successful in the situation, Sam Darnold, a Baker Mayfield, or even a Ryan Tannehill, maybe, they're all first-round picks, right? They all started previously. This is his first opportunity, year 5, to start, Marty. I mean, you've been around a while. I mean, how many guys in year 5 become first-time starters and become average, above? It's very, very rare.
Very rare. But what makes me feel the way I do, and we disagree on this, I think it was the best free agent signing this year so far, because whether it works out or not, you get the potential of turning your franchise around. The general manager was with him. The head coach was with him in Green Bay. They know him. Coming out, he went in the 3rd round. It shocked everybody. Everybody thought he was going to be a first-round pick early in the process, and really more toward the middle of the 1st round than late. But as the process went on, it was very obvious that Malik just needed time. He started as a running back, transferred from Auburn to Liberty. He showed so much of the skill sets that you need to be a successful quarterback at this position. He just needed time, and he went to a great coach in Matt LaFleur. And I gotta believe my eyes, okay? And that's what I feel like I'm arguing like you're an analytics guy, Geoff, and I'm just saying, listen, I know all the facts go your way. I get it. You can give me all the numbers.
Well, I actually think
my eyes.
Yeah, I actually think you're on the analytics side here, Marty, because his numbers last year were great. Oh, he's great on deep passes. What, the 4 of them he threw? He threw 35 passes last season.
And that's why I get that. So you don't make the decision on that. But you do make the decision on the skill set. Does he have a skill set that fits the modern day game? Sure. As far as being able to run, making plays with his feet. He's got a good arm. and he
Yeah.
just needs to be refined, I think, and I think he was showing that at the Packers. How
Yeah.
many chances do you get to get a quarterback in free agency that's young and that can come in and
Yeah.
potentially turn your team around?
All right. Okay. So, how many times are in this situation, Marty, as a general manager, are you looking to the draft next season? Like, are you like if you're debating, like, okay, I want to sign Malik Willis, but there's 7 or 8 guys. Like, it's easy for me to do. Like, oh, don't sign him.
Yep,
Just wait for the draft. There's 8 guys who are going to be good. Do you guys
yep,
think like that in the front office? Is that just a media thing, or is
sure
just
you do.
okay?
No, I mean, you're always looking as far as if you have the proper blueprint and you're looking out 2 or 3 years ahead, and that's something that took me a while to understand that that was probably the most important part of my job is to, you know me, Jeff, we're all as competitive as you can be. You wanna win right now, but you have to really make sure you have a blueprint 2 or 3 years down the road. So, okay, you're looking, you're saying, "Hey, there might be 6, 7 quarterbacks taken in the draft next in the first round next year." What's the percentage? I mean, what's the percentage of first round picks being successful? Half?
50%. 50, yeah,
50%,
50%.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, 2024 class, you look back, there were 6 quarterbacks taking the first top 12 picks, and it's probably 50-50 right now. So it's a 50-50 chance. I got a chance to get a guy here, say my draft picks, get a guy here that the general manager and the head coach have been with. He's got all the physical tools that you need, and they have a better idea of how he's grown mentally than anybody because they were in the building with him. So I love this signing. I think Malik Willis is going to be a very good quarterback in this league. And I think Miami has the best chance of improving the most quickly because of this signing.
That'll be fun to track throughout the year, Marty. I'm sure we'll have once a month. We'll either tell each other who's right and who's wrong. Obviously, 1 month sample size isn't great, but we're going to do it anyways because we can. Because why not? Why not do that? If you like what you're hearing here on the GM Shuffle, is even more VSiN Pro betting splits, power and sharp analysis, all for $9.99 your first month. Go to vsin.com/come check out all the subscription options. Marty, let's take a peek now at other quarterback news. The Jets signed Geno Smith. I guess, sure. I just, I'm shorting the Jets. It's like 5.5 wins, man. I don't like their head coach. I don't know what Geno Smith does. Just think about this. Now, of course, last year it was tough to win. In Las Vegas. Totally understand that. Coaching wasn't great. Didn't have an offensive line, but it is noteworthy that he left Seattle. Sam Darnold comes in to win a Super Bowl. He goes to Vegas. They had the first pick in the draft. I don't know what the Jets should have done, to be honest with you. Not many options here, but Geno to me doesn't feel like a great option, Marty.
No, the Jets had me kinda on the verge last week of getting on their bandwagon after the Sweat trade and saying, "Okay, looks like they have a blueprint here." I think they just took the bat out of my hands, Jeff. I can't. I mean, I just can't. I can't even say the sentences. Just going back to Geno Smith, if they do that, I don't understand that. I just there were other quarterbacks in free agency. I would just come up with another solution. Now, listen, if you talk to Pete Carroll, he's going to tell you he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and I respect Pete Carroll a lot. But I just think that Geno Smith is not the answer right now, and maybe they have somebody in second, third round of the draft they think they can bring in and develop, but I don't like this move at all.
It just doesn't feel like it's going to produce any result that makes a bunch of sense, right? I mean, if you just need a warm body in there, I mean, Geno's going to be fine, I guess, but you're not going to get much from him, right? And again, I don't like the coaching staff there, so not my favorite signing. Tua was released by the Dolphins, immediately found a home in Atlanta. I guess I don't know, Marty. Right now you have Penix coming off an injury, who hasn't been developed, right? Like he's raw, but
Right.
there's a lot of potential there. And you have Tua, who's one concussion away from potentially ending his career. What do you basically have the polar opposite, right? You have Penix, who has this monster arm, who can make all the throws outside the numbers, outside the hash, and you have Tua, who is great at sort of the intermediate to short routes. Maybe they just do that, right? Like you put Tua in, you throw the ball short, but Penix on 3rd and 8, and he's your third down quarterback. I don't understand it. It feels like they could totally be saying, we didn't draft Michael Penix, the staff did, right? So we're gonna really
Yep.
want to play him. We want to find our own guy. Certainly fair to say that, but I just don't think Tua is that guy. I don't know why they rushed out to sign him, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that there are the jury's still out on Michael Penix. There were questions. I had questions consistency wise coming out. I think you
Yeah.
still have that. I do think you want to bring in a veteran quarterback that you can have a chance to compete with as a starter. Uh, Tua is what was it, a 1 year, 2 million? I mean, the financial part of it was very good for him. I don't see this one either. I mean, the concussion, the medical questions going forward. I guess it's a low risk, high reward signing, but I just don't see it working out. And this is a team that has done such a good job of building their team around the quarterback position, and I think they have a lot of young, talented players, but they're they're not making any headway at the quarterback position. When you don't do that, you don't give the other talented players a chance to maximize their skill set. So this is going to be a curious situation in Atlanta. I really liked them last year. I thought they might have had a chance coming in last year to win the division. I just the quarterback issue is just it's too murky for me. I don't see any signs of an answer really. We talk about this division. I think New Orleans is making great strides. So I'm not crazy about the Tua signing either.
What about Arizona with Jacoby Brissett and Gardner Minshew? Is that how they're rolling this year, Marty? Just I don't know. We're gonna win 4 games again.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know what they're gonna do. And listen, I love Jacoby Brissett, right? I mean, he was in the Commanders for a year. You talk about a great individual, great leader, can come in and is a top backup, and probably it could be a low end starter, but he's a top backup. Not going to lose a lot of games for you, but obviously isn't going to really be a difference maker. I love Jacoby, but you have to find a quarterback, and maybe they're a team that's looking at the 27 draft. Yeah.
All right, we're going to talk one more quarterback here, and Kyler Murray and what his position will be and where he's going to play. There is a lead in the clubhouse. Then we're going to talk about our favorite moves, right? Other teams sign players, whether they're offensive lineman, defensive lineman, you love a wide receiver move. The Raiders basically built a whole new team in free agency. We'll do all that next here. GM Shuffle, presented by Rockies Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Back on the GM Shuffle here. We're going to finish our free agency talk, and then next week, on next Monday, we're going to start previewing the NFL draft. And then, Marty, you don't know this yet, I don't think, but we're going to have a mock draft. 4/20, April 20th, we're doing a mock draft 1 month from now-ish, 5 weeks from now. So just be ready, Marty. We're doing a group mock draft. We're going to ask for your help, by the way. We're going to ask you guys, whether on social media, leave a comment on YouTube about what you want your favorite team to do. We're going to go 1 through 32. Hopefully, within 1 hour, we'll get them all in. And we'll have fun doing a mock draft, me, you, and maybe producer Matt, and just sort of around the help from the fans as well. So we're going to all try to do this together. So just be on the lookout for that here in about 5 weeks. Marty, let's get back to it here. Reports are Kyler Murray might be a Minnesota Viking. I don't think you like that move from Minnesota.
I don't understand it, Jeff. It just not a fit. Now, it's the most intriguing. I'll be very interested to if he goes to Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell. I will be very interested to see how he does. Listen, we've read all the stories and the concerns about his either ability to grasp offensive system or to learn. Kevin O'Connell is one of the best quarterback gurus in this league, and if he can turn Kyler Murray around to where they're winning, because they got talent to win. And if they get production out of the quarterback position, they have a good chance of really being a competitive team, even though it's a very tough division. But I just I don't see the fit, Jeff. If Kevin O'Connell can turn Kyler Murray into a legitimate game winning starting
Yeah.
quarterback, then I've already got him in the class with Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay as far as and Andy Reid as far as the quarterback kind of developers and gurus. But this is one that I just don't see the connection. It'll be very interesting to follow this if they do sign him to see how he does there.
Well, let's get to some of our favorite free agency signings. I know you had one you liked that the Raiders made.
The Jalen Naylor signing to me was probably the best under the radar signing, and there wasn't any room for him in Minnesota. So he's really he's got a very intriguing skill set, and he can separate, and he can be very productive. And I think his production was hampered, obviously, by the amount of targets they obviously have a lot of targets in Minnesota. I really like this signing. I thought it was a very good under the radar signing, even though it happened first day.
I think the Raiders did some good stuff. Obviously, it's interesting because if you look at it like in a vacuum, right, of just what they have on their roster, what they did in free agency, and then you add Maxx Crosby back, you're like, holy heck, man. They did a really good job in free agency. I feel like they got a lot of quality football players. Their team is definitely much better than last season. And then if Mendoza is going to be the star that people think he is, I mean, Marty, they've done a great job improving their roster. Obviously, with the patch off of the Crosby deal, they didn't even want him on their team. But I think the Raiders did a good job in general with getting this team much, much better during these first couple of days of free agency.
Yeah, and all you had to do is the first move they made. I mean, you at the top pick in the draft, and you're picking a quarterback. You're going to try to build your franchise around a young quarterback. What do you need most? You need a center, a veteran center, and they went out and got the highest rated center in the league, really. So all of a sudden, they make a move like that, and it's like, oh wow, they're connecting the dots. This isn't Where's Waldo anymore. They have a plan. They're kind of connecting the dots and moving forward. So I really I like a lot of what they've done right now, Geoff, and we'll see. But I love what the Raiders are doing right now, and I think the Maxx Crosby deal is going to turn out to be a win-win for both sides. I think there's a great possibility of that.
I think the Raiders are going to be happy. Look, originally I said I think we all said like, hey, maybe better keep Maxx Crosby. I understand why they were in trade him. I was on board with that as well. I like what the Panthers did, Marty. I feel like they've quietly really done a good job being able to build up their roster the last couple of years. They added Jalen Phillips. They added Devin Lloyd, the linebacker from Jacksonville. It feels like they are on the right path. If Bryce Young continues to get better, the Panthers feel like sort of maybe can stay in that division winning mode each and every year.
Yeah, I like what they did too. I mean, Devin Lloyd, when you go into schools and you watch guys and you watch them move and then you watch them live in games,
Yeah.
you really start to fall in love. And that's one of the things you have to be careful of is not falling in love with players. But I love the Devin Lloyd signing for the Panthers. He just gives them so much versatility, and he's a guy that the ball finds him. I mean, he creates turnovers. He makes distractions. He's an excellent player, and Jalen Phillips as well. I mean, pass rush is a contract a little bit on the high side, yeah, but hey, you get deals done this week. That's what you're going to do. I like the two signings a lot. I love the Devin Lloyd signing.
Mike Evans goes to the 49ers on a one-year contract. I know the jokes are out there about his hamstring in that electrical substation, Marty. But nonetheless, if you stay healthy, this does present a different type of wide receiver for the 49ers than they've had in a while, right? Sort of that bigger wide receiver, that possession guy, that 50-50 guy, a little different than what they've had. This might change what the offense can be.
Yeah, and what a perfect fit for Brock Purdy. Gives him a bigger target to hit, right? I mean, it's just this is a phenomenal move. I think that Mike Evans is going to go and with Kyle Shanahan and just have an incredible season. I love this move for the 49ers. I think it helps Brock Purdy, and we'll see. But I think Mike Evans can still play. Obviously, he's had some injury stuff the last few years, but in the Bucks really have such good depth with young wide receivers. I could see him leaving. You hate to see a guy who has been with one team all his career and leave at this juncture, but I think it's going to work out for him. And I like this move. I love this a lot for Mike Evans and the 49ers. I think it's going to turn into be a great move.
Um, so I've noticed, Marty, that we had a bunch of signings immediately, as we always do, right? They were announced. We were doing our show Monday, right? They were announced. There's always a second wave, and it hasn't come yet. But there really feels like there hasn't even been like a 1B wave so far. There's a lot of guys. Are you surprised sort of how slow it moved at those initial deals?
No, I think once it craters, and I think you gotta give a few days. I think the other thing is there were more trades and action really leading up to this free agency period to me than there has been in recent years. So, every year, every free agency cycle takes on its own life, and I think this year, um, pretty much it wasn't a lot of depth, so I don't know how many more splash signings we're gonna find. Teams regroup. Sometimes they panic. That's what you do not want to do. If you've missed out on a couple guys not to fill need, you do not want to panic and overpay for somebody. Been there, done that, done work. So I think you just have to be patient and let the market kind of redefine itself and go from there. And I think that's what teams are doing.
Yeah, because I mean, the free agent list of guys available is still like really good. There's a lot of good offensive linemen available. It just seems interesting that there is still this wide range of players available. One team that they did a little bit of work in free agency was the Chiefs, Marty. They went and signed Kenneth Walker, and look, it's a big upgrade over what they had in the past, right? Pacheco, Hunt, those guys got 0 explosive carries. It definitely changes them because, Kenneth Walker, I think, had the most in the NFL last season. The question that I have for you is that, do they need to change their offense to make this work? Or do they just run the offense they have and then add him in there, and the explosive nature of his runs can change the offense without actually changing schematically what they do?
And you're running it more. So B, everything you said
Maybe.
at the end, except you're also well, but if you're signing them as a free agent with and paying them what they're paying them, that's why you're doing it, right? So yeah, I don't
I'll
think they
believe they
have to
run the
change
ball when
the
they're
offense,
more when they
Jeff.
do, Marty.
I don't think Jeff, I don't disagree with you. Coaches that like to throw the ball. And that's why I just I'm a huge proponent. I know you are of balance in running the football. If you made this move, and the Chiefs are a team that don't just do things without reason, right? So if you made this move, I think you really are planning to run the ball more, especially the first part of the season when Patrick Mahomes is still recovering and getting back to 100%. So I think they run the ball more. I don't think they have to change their offense. I'd like to see him get thrown to a little bit more. Doesn't have the greatest hands, but I think he is an adequate receiver. I love Kenneth Walker. His explosion, his big playability, I think is just going to come out more and more with the Chiefs. And so, no, I don't think they have to change anything, Jeff. You just got to run the ball more.
I look, man, I hope they do. They need to run the ball more. Again, I'll believe it when they do it, Marty, because that's not what the Chiefs have done over the years. Now, Eric Bieniemy coming back
Yeah.
certainly can help with that. Um, I like what the Chargers did on their offensive line. Biotic is a great signing, in my opinion, Marty, in that division. Cole Strange, we'll see if he ends up being the starter or not. I know Zion Johnson went to the Browns, and you like Zion Johnson, the former guard of the Chargers on the Cleveland Browns now.
Yeah, I really do, Jeff. But he came out and he's got great feet, strong hands. He's stout enough. He can play center as well as guard. I did like that. Cole Strange, try hard guy. I don't think is physically as talented, but I think that he's a Jim Harbaugh type of guy. So I do like what the Chargers did, and I see them as a team. I mean, they're a team. The Bills in the AFC, the Bills, the Chargers. This is their time. So going to be interesting to see how they do this year.
There's a lot of moves to be made, Marty. I will tell you to end this show. I'm not a jealous person. I got a really good life, and I love my life. But I do become a Hey Nass former player the first day of free agency. I'll tell you that, buddy. I'm like, what? That guy got that much money? I will admit it, Marty. I get a little jealous on Fridge. Yeah, it's over now. That's the 24-hour period. I text my friends. I'm like, "Do you see what this guy got?" So, but good. You're actually all the players, life-changing money.
You get jealous, I get bitter. I'm the same way. I see all the money. I'm saying, why does this thing do this? But I did the same thing. You want to win.
I mean,
that's why.
Marty,
So I get it. I get it.
I got signed in 2014 to my big contract. The cap has gone up $200 million to 2014.
I know.
$100 million. All right, guys. We'll be back next week previewing the draft. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe. We'll talk to you guys on Monday. Take care. Have a great weekend, everyone.